Withholding tax. When you hear withholding tax, what comes to your mind? It appears like a very common tax type or very common phenomenon that we hear every now and then. But I've gotten questions from viewers and some of the followers relating to this subject matter. So I want us to take the next couple of episodes in this month of September to break it down. I remain Oladejo Adeyemi, and this is Insight with Oladejo. So what is withholding tax? Strangely, it will shock you to know that withholding tax is actually not a type of tax. Anytime we say that, whether in any, fora or any gathering where business experts are gathered, it usually introduces some form of confusion because it's a common tax type that people see as liabilities, obligations, and all that. So when you say withholding tax is actually not a tax type, it kind of creates some confusions in the minds of people. But we're on this channel, so let's break it down. Think of the fact that government needs tax to run the economy. And if government would have to wait for every business to conclude their business transactions in a particular year, and then the following year, since we operate generally on a preceding year basis, meaning whatever happened this year will be taxed or tax reported next year, then it means government would have to wait for next year to come before they get the tax and the funding relating to the operations for businesses for this year. So that would not happen, the concept of withholding tax then came up, such that as businesses are transacting with one another, they would have certain obligations to carry out, and then they would pay a part of their income, to the government. You see, I'm trying to put that income in inverted comma because most times the amount of the income relating to that particular transaction for the business owner may be expressly undeterminable. But the government then decided to put everyone into the same box based on transaction types or the nature of the transaction or the description of the transaction. So put simply, withholding tax is that type of tax that you have to pay forward or you pay in advance, such that government will be able to have tax revenue to conduct their economic affairs and be able to also give the services that they hold the citizens to the citizens in time. So when does withholding tax apply? When does it apply? Withholding tax applies when payment is being made generally. Even though the law says whenever payment is made or credited, whichever occurs first. Credited in that balance means when the transaction is recognized in the books of the business. And I'll give you an example. Party A can loan Party B an amount, and there is interest payable on that loan. Now, because Party A and Party B are related, or they know one another, or they know each other, they may decide to say, don't pay me this interest yet, just for me to be able to manage cash flow. Now, if interest, as it is actually, is a qualifying transaction for withholding tax purposes, even though the party, which is Party B now, has not in fact paid Party A that interest amount, there is need for Party B to account for the withholding tax on the transaction. So generally speaking, except for transactions that are exempted, as it is the case, for instance, for manufacturing companies based on the new Nigerian Tax Act that has just been enacted, and in ordinary course of business situation, and several other situations where withholding tax will not apply. Withholding tax should apply when transactions occur or when payment has happened. Once the transaction occurs and the transaction has been booked in the books of the company, then withholding tax should apply. How then can it serve as advance payment of tax? Remember, when the party that deducted from you remits to the government, it is sitting in your account as an advance payment of your tax. But in some instances, it can also be the final tax, especially when you are dealing with non-resident entities, based on what the law says. We'll draw the curtain here. There's a lot more to learn on this subject matter of withholding tax, but we will catch up with that on subsequent episodes. See you next time.